of dawned on me that all I was doing was looking ahead, always looking to that next place, the place where I will be happy. The thing is if you're not able to make yourself happy or satisfied in your current position, you likely won't be happy or satisfied once the honeymoon, wears off in your new position. It's kind of the cul like I knew someone that once called it the cul-de-sac of stupidity. You go in there, you try something that doesn't make you happy, and your response is, well, I just need more of the thing. That's the reason why I'm not happy. And my job's not hard enough. My job's not challenging enough. I don't have enough this. And I remember driving to work one day and going, I got to change my mind. I have to change how I look at things because this is just not good. Like, I'm living in this continuous state of just angst and I'm not happy. I got to change. And so I kind of made like that commitment right there before God and man that I am going to change how I view the world, right? I'm going to be satisfied in this. And of course, much like all of life, the day I make this decision, I go to get some coffee, run into somebody at the coffee store, coffee place, coffee arena. And he was just like, hey, you work at blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I do work there. And he's like, hey, come work for me. I'll pay you more. You'll be able to lead all these projects and you'll be able to do all these things. So of course, once again, life is weird, God is good, and I'm confused, right? Like, I'm just like, what just happened? Like, how I just finally committed to something and now mine's blown, right? I'm just like, all right, well, I learned a lesson and got something good all at the exact same time. And that has always stuck with me, is that every time I go to a new position, it's easy. There's always a fork in the road. There's always choosing to be satisfied or thinking about the things you wish you had. And they always will torment you it's just, we're all humans. We all do this, but it's just making that conscious choice that's really been a huge thing for me. Another time, another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is I had an opportunity once to make a passion project full time. And I thought this was going to be the greatest thing ever, right? This kind of bleeds into the last point, which is I got the opportunity to do open source exclusively. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be it. This is going to be awesome. I did 420 conferences that year, was doing all the things. It was awesome. Lots of high fives, whatever. That's just me clapping right there. But I just thought it was going to be awesome, right? And lo and behold, what I realized is that sometimes the reason why passion projects remain passionable is because you get the limited experience to do them, right? You're doing them because you want to do them. You're not doing them because you're forced to do them full time, right? You're not like, I've now committed to it. And it made me really realize that there's two types of work in life. There's the work that I have to do, that I currently do to make a living. And then there's a work that I just want to do, something that I want to explore, something I want to learn, something I just want to enjoy building, even if it's completely and utterly useless. And I realized that it's very hard to mix these two together. And so I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh man, how cool it'd be to work on React. The reality is that open source work, doing those type of things, is actually really taxing. It is really hard, and people often don't appreciate anything you do, and you just get massive amounts of insults, right? Like, that's just the reality of the situation. And so I've learned something very important there, which is you really need to find something that excites you, that you can do, but don't try to make it the end goal, right? Let it be the journey, right? It doesn't have to be the end goal. I made something the end goal. I accomplished that end goal, and I was like in the worst position of my life, which is really hard to reconcile those two things, because you thought you were going to love it and you realize you don't. It's like really difficult. And it is really kind of like a engineering earth-shattering moment, right? You're just like, I don't even know what to do now, right? And so that's where I was at one point. And that's where I kind of came up with my realization that I got to just love the things for the reason why I love them, not do the things because I want to get something out of it. And that was a huge, huge change around in my life. And last, the infinite skill gap. I don't think people talk, this is probably the least talked about one. And of course, if anyone knows who I am, they should not be surprised where I'm going with this one. It's a reason why I chose Vim. It's a reason why I chose all these weird arcane technologies that I use as part of my developer workflow. Because in reality, in the end, this is how I view an important aspect of life, is that there's both the mental body, right, and the physical body. And often when we're programming and we're doing things, we're just exercising half of our body, right? We're exercising just the mental side. Whereas, no offense to the VS Coders, the IntelliJers, all that stuff, a lot of it is just spent kind of thinking and pressing. And when you get into the zone, you're typing and all that, but there's no skill gap in there. You're just simply typing, doing whatever. Whereas with Vim, there's like all these keystrokes, all these more and more progressively optimized way you can do things. You can edit a huge amount of text with very, few keystrokes, and it has like a huge amount of knowledge. And I realized by turning a skill like playing StarCraft into editing, every time I get into one of these sessions where I just have to write code, I find myself enjoying the process. Like that's the thing I look the most forward to is the opportunity to have uninterrupted text editing time, right? Not even the thing I'm building. The fact that I get to build is so enjoyable at this point because I've achieved higher abilities at these like arcane ways of doing things that it actually becomes entertaining in and of itself. It's a lot like basketball, right? I used to play basketball every single day up until just about a year and a half ago. And I loved just shooting the ball. The only reason why I loved just shooting the ball was because I also played the game, right? I liked getting better so that when I did the actual thing, it made it more enjoyable. It's this marriage between the mental body and the physical body that just makes a huge difference. And so it's just this weird thing that I derive a huge amount of joy from. And I get to see how fast can I do things and how few keystrokes and how many advanced operations can I do things and like gamify the actual process. I know that seems a little crazy to some people, but to me, that is like by far something that I've always loved, and it's only growing with time. And the best part about it, there's still tons to learn, right? I'm not done today. I haven't learned everything. I still have to go read help manuals. I still have to go figure more and more things out. And that's exciting because I know even though I'm at the tippity top for speed, I am only halfway up on the knowledge. And so it's like I get to keep on going. And that's very, very exciting. And so in the end, there's only one person that stands between you and excitement. One person stands between you and satisfaction. There's one person that stands between you and joy of engineering, right? It's you. You are the only person that gets to decide the attitude and how you perceive things. No one can tell you that you cannot or you must like coding this feature. You get to make that decision. And for a lot of us, it's a kind of implicit decision we just make. We don't plan it out. We don't try to. We're having a bad day. So we just go, ugh, this sucks. This is stupid. I hate fixing this small bug, blah, blah, blah. Who wrote this code? It's crap. Get blame. Oh, wait, it's me. You just go through this process and you're like, or you can enjoy it. And it's fully and purely up to you. It's not up to me. And that makes it fantastic. Because you get to be the decider of how you feel, right? Like in the end, you get to decide your experience. And I've just found that really, really, really awesome. And I did want to kind of go back to where a lot of this really came to be for me. I didn't tell the story at the beginning because it's a pretty absurd story. So, the part where I talked about how I got the job offer right afterwards, I remember I had this problem where I wanted to be in control. Really, really bad. I wanted to be in control. Even though I was hating my current job, I had an opportunity at a new job. I'm deciding I'm going to be satisfied. I have this opportunity. It pays better, more exciting. Everything about it is greater. And I'm still stressed to bits. I still can't even focus. I'm upset. And I remember walking with my wife. My head was down looking at the ground. And sometimes life metaphorically hits you in the face with the 2x4. And sometimes in life, you literally get hit in the face with a 2x4. There was a 2x4 sticking out of someone's truck. And I didn't see it because my head was down because I was so stressed out about all the things that I walked literally into a 2x4 and fell over. And in that moment, I just realized how stupid all this was, how ridiculously I'm getting so wound up about something the only control I have is to say yes or no, and that's it. I'm like, oh, what about the future? What about this? What about this weapon? If I hate it, weapon, everything. I just realized, man, I am so worried about things that aren't even happening that I literally walked into a 2x4 in front of my wife. Very beautiful wife, by the way. And like, how ridiculous is that? And so it's like this nice moment where I just was like, just like let it go. Like, I just don't have to control that. It was fantastic. And that was really the big moment for me. And ultimately, I wanted to leave you with one sweet quote, which is shortcuts make long delays. J.R.R. Tolkien, which I believe is Peregrine that says that. Mary or Peregrine, I forget which one. But either way, we all want to be able to get from A to Z. But the reality is you have to walk across every last letter, okay? There's B, C, D, all the way up to Z. You can't just simply go backwards and end at Z, right? There's no shortcuts. Do the things you got to do. Enjoy yourself while you're doing them. And ultimately, in the end, your enjoyment, your excitement, your ability to love the thing you do is up to you and your desire to just walk that path. And that's about it. That's my name's the Primeagen. Hey, that's my logo. Someone made it at Netflix for me. How sweet is that? It's a pretty neat logo, right? I believe I was going to be able to answer some questions. I don't know how delayed the chat is. For me, it's a little bit delayed as far as I can tell. So if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them. Ultimately, in the end, I was very excited to be able to speak. I know a lot of you are students out there. A lot of you are just starting. I'm 15, plus years into doing things. And so I've seen a lot of things. I've done a lot of things, and I'm very, very glad to answer any of the questions that you have. Yeah, so either throw it in the chat or I think there's another way. There is a Shift G. No, there's not. Only in Vim. So I don't know exactly how this is going to work with the questions. There may be a long delay, so just be prepared for the long delay. If you're wondering what I'm doing, chat's over here. Just looking at it, just waiting. I'll give it a few minutes. Ultimately, end if that's that, then I'll have to, I'll jump out and let you guys continue on with this wonderful conference. Maybe I should join the tables? I don't even know. Thank you. Thank you, Cruz. How has data structures and algorithms helped you so far? So this is kind of like a varied question. One thing is that, even when I was doing UI work, the world's still a tree, right? My ability to understand that, walk that, manipulate DOM nodes, especially before all these fancy pants frameworks came out, such as React, where jQuery was the cutting edge of the world. Ultimately, I had to know and be able to visualize and reason about data structures. As I got further into my career, I did a bunch of caching and web request stuff, which required really deep understanding of trees and graphs and all that. And then as I went into the back with memory analysis, a lot of graphs and things like that had to be done. And so data structures, though not as important to begin with, became increasingly more important. And a lot of my side projects, if I'm trying to make something a really efficient piece of memory server, I find myself using a linked list and kind of being an allocator between the OS and our server. And so I end up using data structures a reasonable amount of times. I know I don't often talk big O in front of my coworkers, except for that one coworker that we always have big O conversations about. But ultimately, in the end, no, not that often. But every now and then, yes. Would you please stay at the tables? I could jump at a table. Have you ever thought about learning everything about a technology, all the tech stacks, or even try them out? Let's see, hold on. Have you ever thought of learning everything about technology, all the tech stacks, or even try them out? I don't really get that question. I have learned a lot of different tech stacks. I am more of a person that wants to learn something enough through that I have a fairly good idea how it works, and then I move on to the next thing. I don't usually go really far out, except for in the beginning of my career, because I didn't really know what I wanted, right? Did I like the front end? Did I like doing the middle part? Did I like the back end? Do I like application sides? Where do I want to be, right? As a student, I suffer with imposter syndrome, seeing my peers how to tackle this. Now, this is a great question. Imposter syndrome often comes from your, your, whether you realize it or not, your consistency of comparing yourself against other people. When it comes to a skill like programming, one of the best things you can do is compare yourself against the past you. Are you improving? Are you doing better? Are you actually making steps that you're proud of? If you're not, what can you do to remedy that, right? How can you make yourself learn more, spend some more time, maybe make them more important? If you're struggling with data structures and algorithms, do some katas. Wake up every morning for a week straight and build a linked list from scratch, right? And then by the end of that week, you'll be like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. Second, a thing that will always defeat imposter syndrome is experience, meaning that you're going to go to a job. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, everyone here is so smart. I am so dumb. A month into it, you're going to go, oh no, we all make mistakes. We're all just not able to cope with an infinitely large database. Oh, or a code base. This is totally normal. Oh, okay. Yeah. Given enough time, I can solve any problem. I didn't think I could do it. I did it, right? Like, just going through those motions, you should be able to start defeating imposter syndrome as long as you're not focusing on that one person who just crushes it, right? That one person who crushes it could very well feel like an imposter syndrome person who's just simply trying to cope with the fact that he doesn't feel like he can make it. Therefore, he's going to work an extra 40 hours a week. And you're sitting there going, oh man, I'm not working hard enough. Like you just can't do that. It's just this forever arms race that does not end well. Let's see. Sir, how can I get free access to Netflix for a lifetime? That's a great question. The best way to do that is to pay Netflix, a few $1,000s, and then you'll have a membership for the rest of your life. It'll be free after you pay them. It'll be free completely from there on out. How do you find your passion? So, like I said, I love small projects that are inconsequential that I get to learn and just have a good time. Right? So I'm building a little IRC server right now on Twitch that I can have people chat inside of my NeoVim experience. Why would I do that? Well, why not, right? It's built in C. Why would you build a server in C today, right? Well, because I just wanted to learn some more about C, right? Like, who cares about the reasoning, how useful it is and all that? I'm just going to have fun and I'm going to try to build it, right? And so that kind of gives me passion because I just do it very little. I get to just dork out on something that I think is neat. And I get to seg-fault myself a bunch and have fun, right? Like, it's just fun for the sake of doing it, right? I'm not trying to build something that's going to change the world, that's going to change my career, that's going to change anything. I'm just enjoying the craft for the sake of the craft. I'm playing a pickup game of basketball, right? Basketball would be super unfun if all you ever did was shoot free throws, right? Any sport you play would be super unfun if you only practice the fundamentals. It's just doing the game that actually ends up making it super duper fun, right? And so I feel the exact same way. How do you tackle a program if you hit a roadblock? So there's different types of roadblocks, right? There's hey, I don't know how to solve this feature. I mean, ultimately in the end, that's kind of like, hey, you got to look up a bunch of stuff. You have to grind it out. You might have to hack your way around it. And eventually, yeah, things will be good and you'll kind of get around it. But if it's more like, I don't know why my system can't find this library, those problems are just more annoying than honestly anything else. You just got to, that's just guess and check until you understand Linux good enough that it works. Often I always just am like, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing. I can still think of trying to build I bought a programming book, C++ first-person shooter back in college. And about halfway through the book, they used DirectX 8. And at that time, DirectX 8 was no longer really allowed. There was like the security vulnerability in one of the libraries. You couldn't use a lot of the things. And it's just like, it was such a struggle to get it to work that after about a month and a half of trying to get it to work, I finally just gave up, right? So there are some times that some things are just very, very difficult, but ultimately, it just depends on the roadblock, right? Most roadblocks that you find in software, especially if you're using like a dynamic language or something more simple, it's just you got to program around it, right? Even if it's not the most ideal solution, just get something on the books. Because, if it's just a for fun project, it's going to be you and a couple friends that use the project. Who cares if it's not the best built, right? Just put a function around it, abstract it a little bit, put a couple tests on it just so you don't screw that part up, and just leave it be, right? You can come back to it, put a little to-do, and then never finish the to-do. Classic to-do, by the way. How can I focus on my interest, personal project, which I'm passionate about, rather than what I should have done? Okay. So this is just, you're really asking me, how do I be mature? I'm sorry for not sugarcoating that question, but the reality is that you have things you have to do and things you want to do. If you remember at the very, 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 very beginning, I said you'll never have enough time to do the things you want to do. That is the reality, is that you have to prioritize doing what you must so that you can do the things you want. And sometimes that means you just don't get to do the things you want to do for days on end. There's no two ways about that. And so I always have to just emotionally set aside what I want, put that on the shelf, do what I have to, and really focus on that and know that the end goal, the treat, the reward is doing the thing I want to do. Because honestly, right now, you know what I want to do? I want to build more of my CIRC server right now. But after this, I got to go and try to figure out why one piece of our software is not running correctly with the television at Netflix. Every time I run it, the whole thing explodes. Don't know why. I got to go fix that. So that's not fun. You know what I'd rather do? The fun hacking thing, not this one, right? But it's just like I have to do it. I have to sit myself down and do it, no matter how much I want to do the other thing. Any tips for web design if we're just starting out? Time in the saddle. Anything that involves, like, how do I get started in X? The answer is time doing X, right? If you want to get started in web design, build something small, build something bigger, build something bigger, build something even bigger, right? Like, that's not a joke. Just keep on building. Time in the saddle is by far the greatest indicator of success. Nothing else is going to determine how successful you're going to be more than time in the saddle. While working on a project, if one of your team members is stuck somewhere and you know how to do the task they are stuck on, this is a great question, but you've been assigned to a different task, what would be the best course of action? So first off, one thing you can do is if it lasts for a while, if you have stand-ups and the person's talking about a roadblock, right? That's a good time to jump in and be like, hey, I have a lot of experience with that. You want to just, after this, do you want to just go, pair program for a half an hour? We can try to figure some things out. You don't always have to give them the solution, but you can give them the tools to figure out the solution, right? If you just know it like the back of your hand, that means there's a huge learning opportunity for this person, right? That's just the way it is, right? Your coworker doesn't know how to do X. Don't do X. Show them how to do X. Show them how to learn how to do X, right? Give them the opportunity, because ultimately in the end, by making your coworker more successful, you will be more successful, right? You'll have a product that works better. You'll have less bugs. You'll have less problems. You'll be able to move faster, easier, and have less headaches in the future. So, helping someone to fish and teaching them how to do that is way better than just giving them the fish, right? As the old expression goes, don't give a man a fish, teach him how to fish, right? I'm a React and Node developer. I have always heard from my seniors that, hey, don't call me a senior. That head on the DSA now. Let's see. What do you think would be a good time to get started with it? Because I'm really passionate to learn more about React and stuff, or React stuff, and feel not getting into DSA. So when you say DSA, what are you saying when you say DSA? Are you saying data structures and algorithms? Is that what you mean by DSA? Sorry. Or are you talking about Dijkstra's shortest path algorithm? I feel like there's something missing in that statement. But anyways, so if you're just talking about DSA or data structures and algorithms, I mean, the answer is do it, right? Wake up every morning, pick a data structure, just like I recommended earlier, and just do a kata, right? Build the same data structure 1 week for, every morning for 1 week. The first time you do it, it'll take an hour. The second time, it'll take 30 minutes. The third time, it'll take 15. The fourth time, it'll take like nothing. All of a sudden, you'll be able to whip out a linked list in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, right? Like, it's just like, oh yeah, I know those. I know them. I'm very good at them. I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, you have this problem? Do this, do that, right? Because it'll just become intrinsic to your ability. Let's see. How does one get out of tutorial hell? Yes. No, dude. Tutorial hell sucks. The reason why you're in tutorial hell is because you're looking for answers that just tutorials can't give. The tutorial starts off by showing you how to do X. You need to take that knowledge and go, I'm going to do Y. A tutorial shows you how to set the background color and how to get a node, say, out of a DOM or the document object model, right? So, like, forget all the frameworks, forget all of that. You're just working with the DOM, and you know how to take a node, set some CSS, and move it around on screen. Awesome. Build Connect 4, right? You already have all the tools, right? You know how to get a node. You know how to color it. You know how to move it. Well, everything else should be easy breezy cover girl, right? You should just be able to go, okay, I need to move it here. I need to do this. It needs to be colored like this. Now I need to, analyze, I'm going to store everything in a 2D array. I need to analyze, right? Like, you just need to make that jump. You need to take the things you've learned and expand upon it, right? Because there's no tutorial on how to learn how to expand on things. You only will see someone else, and it will feel easy when you watch somebody do it, but it's hard when you do it. Sometimes I feel like I'm not working enough and end up working straight for 1 week trying to solve a bug. But then I feel like I'm missing out on some things, like going out with friends. This is a good, work-life balance is extremely important, right? Because ultimately in the end, joy does not come from work. Satisfaction does. A lot of people mix those two things up. Work was not created for your joy, right? It is very satisfying. It's very satisfying to see a project through, to conquer over things, to do a great job, but it does not bring you joy, right? Community, people, like that's what we're designed for, right? Ultimately, humans are a relational creature. And so if you sever one half for the other, it's going to be painful, right? Like you're going to feel it, and ultimately you're going to be unhappy. So you have to figure out what is more important in that moment. Now, sometimes doing an extra like 1 or 2 day grind to get something done, yeah, we all have to do that, right? I have to do that all the time. I have 4 kids. I have to say, sorry, kids. Sorry, beautiful wife. I can't hang out right now. I got to do X. I don't want to do X, but I just have to do this to finish it. Well, then when I'm done with that hard grind, I intentionally make more time. I will get off a bit earlier. I'll have to say no to some meetings. I will make time to enjoy the other side as well. You got to it's a balance, right? It's ultimately a balance. And some jobs are worse than others, right? We all know that. Some jobs are meat grinders, right? People go in, meat comes out. And that's just the reality. And if you're new, that might be your first job. You just need to put your time in to be able to get that better job because you gain the skills to pay the bills, to be able to convince people to do that. But you still have to do it. All right, well, let's see. What would you do if there were a group project and you had a great idea to improve the project, but the other members don't want to go the extra mile? I had that once happen to me. Ultimately, if it's a group project and say it's like for school, if you gotta play the field, right? If you can't convince your group to do it and you yourself don't want to shoulder the entire load, then you have to make a compromise, right? Now, is there a 50-50 middle ground, right? It's all about, hey, look at this. It's like you guys are just, you're making my slides for me, right? You're going to have to make trade-offs, and not all of them are fun. Like, that is just the reality. You have to learn how to make those trade-offs. I will fight for what I want, but I realize that fighting for or trying to convince somebody with arguments almost never works. Showing them the exciting, how good things are, like bringing them into why you want to do it, often makes people more motivated. And so there could be something there. This is the art of the sale, right? So it's like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Carnegie. Read the book, understand it, right? You got to be excited. You got to bring people in. People want to follow people that are excited. People don't want to listen to people that tell them what to do, right? No one wants a drill sergeant. Everybody wants a cheerleader. For whatever reason, I don't know why that works that way. Perhaps my analogy breaks down a little bit, but you get the idea. People love people that are excited. People don't want someone yelling at them. It's just, we all want that. And of course, Princess Bride is fantastic. Don't forget that. Is there anything else? Let's see. I'm interested in doing data analysis, machine learning, deep learning. Is there a way to get to internships at Netflix in these fields? So internships are extremely difficult at Netflix. We have very, very few of them, if like none of them. I think I've heard of like 2. Netflix is pretty much, think of it as exclusively a senior-only place. And so, when you've done your time, when you've got your internship, when you've done your junior development, your, mid-level development, you've got into the senior world, you feel very, very comfortable. Hey, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can find me. And if I'm still working at Netflix, which who knows? I've already been there for 7.5 years. At some point I have to get kicked out of the door, whether I leave the door or they kick me out, right? Like there's just an end at some point. And so, if I'm still there, hey, I'll recommend you. Let's see. How do you improve yourself every time? How do you judge that that I'm improving myself or not? That's a good question. I mean, that's a hard one, right? Well, there's things like, so when it comes to like me doing Vim, I can tell when I'm doing better because I'm using certain keystrokes that I used to find it very difficult to use. Like relative jumps were hard at one point. They're very easy and second nature now. Using CIW was very weird for me to use at first. It's now second nature now, right? There's certain ways I can measure it. As far as it goes, like quality of software building, that's, most people talk about how does the code like feel and stuff like that. A lot of reviewing about, I know you use this word, but I feel like this word's better. Like, how do you communicate to the developer? And often I usually just want to, get done. And so I just want to get it done, right? And so I don't really, spend that time there. For me, how I know I'm getting better is that when I approach a new topic, I can rate how fast I can effectively get it done. How much did I have like pre-prepared knowledge for it? Like if I were to do another C-based server, I would feel pretty comfortable. Like I already know that I am better than the last time I was, right? I may not remember all the functions you got to call or even where to find all the functions. I may have to go to other source code to go look at it, but nonetheless, it would be easier for me to do it, right? Like I know I'm improving. How do you improve let's see. Oh yeah, I already read that question. All right. Well, hey, I think I've probably taken up enough time. I'm practically at 40 minutes. So I think it's about that time. All right. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to the hosts for allowing me to do this. It was truly their excitement that brought me here. I had some other things that I could have done, but ultimately, y'all are a bunch of students, at least as far as I can tell. You guys have a huge amount of opportunity for the next so many years to be able to do all sorts of things. And I want you to be able to take these things with you, right? I don't want you to feel like the world is just going to be all business when it's out there. There's definitely a path that is you want to be the Bob Ross of coding, right? Let's just have some happy accidents and let's fix them, right? It's fantastic. So thank you very, very much.